welcome back. Jumping right in. A lot of this video was recorded several months ago. Sorry about that. Which train became famous for being the target of a train robbery in the U.S. in 1877? Union Pacific number 119. What country was the first to introduce passenger train services in 1830? Stay tuned to the next video for the answer.
Alright, so back in the train room. This is how the mountain looks currently. There's going to be a lot of changes, some maybe a little drastic. Currently though, green sponge, big bucket of water off camera that you can't see. I need to get that stuff off the wall, and then I need to put some paper up between the scenery and the wall so that I'll get yelled at for multiple reasons. This is a rental, so I need to get that stuff off the wall. Thankfully it is only plaster. Mostly should be easy to get off with the sponge and cut away what I did get on the wall with a blade. So that's what I'm currently doing. I've also cut some pink foam. I'm going to show you some rocks that I did. So let's see. My initial thought was to place these on the flat surfaces, but I only have really two big ones, molds, and a thing of small ones, and I think it's going to be too repetitive. So I think I'm going to have to do some pink foam, which I've already cut to certain shapes. I will refine those shapes here in a little bit once I get this cleaned up, and I'll show you how I'm doing that. I took some measurements earlier, and I think I'm going to double them up so that they're thick enough. Granted, I will have to cut that down a little bit because I want it to come all the way over to here, but I got a scribe on there, but it'll be basically 2 inches thick because these are 1 inch thick pieces. Cut them out with the hot wire foam knife earlier, and we'll see how things go. And then get to doing some actual carving of rocks, which is what I intended to do to begin with. I just really did not want to use expensive pink foam, which come to everything that I've watched and what I've seen and how the Sculpt-A-Mold and the plaster cloth is working. It works great for slopes, and I'm sure there is a way, if I was patient, to use the Sculpt-A-Mold to do what I want to do, but I think it's going to be easier for me and my brain to use the pink foam. That being said, you're basically just going to watch me wash walls. I will have this sped up though, and I'm going to turn my music back on. So, I'll be back in a little bit. So So I was actually expecting. The water took it off very, very easily. But now I have a bunch of crumbs and stuff all over the place. So I'm going to get out the shop vac, vacuum all this up, and then I'm going to move on to the pink foam. So let me hop down for a little bit, and I'll be back. Alexa, resume. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to hop back up here with the marker and the foam and the hot wire foam cutter, and try and get this to fit in there the way I want it to fit in there. Hopefully it works out well. If not, I'm sure you will see me on camera not in a happy mood, but I think I got this. And the hard part's going to be tracing out the first piece, and the second piece should be pretty easy because I can just mirror it by putting the two together and then using the hot wire foam cutter to cut it. But currently the problem is obviously it's the right height. So I don't even know if you can see that. Try and bend around here, look at the camera. Okay, you can. So it's the right height, but I need to understand this is all new to me, so if I'm doing things wrong, I'm doing things wrong. But guess not too bad. We're gonna try that and see how it works. Should already be hot. I am cutting on the outside of the line, not the inside of the line, just in case my scribing was horrible, because I can always fine tune it a little bit. And I'm going to use a combination of things to get it to stick in place. I will use some Elmer's plain white glue to glue the two pieces of foam together. That's the easy part. And then getting the two to stick to the mountain is going to be the more difficult part, but I think I've got an idea for that. So, not quite close, but because I can fill in a bunch of this later using Sculptamold so that it's closer to that rock face. Oh, yeah. Alright. So that I don't mind. It's got a little bit of a slant to it, but that's okay. I'm wondering if I actually need 2 pieces or not here. Leave that out of the way. Alright, well, you may see a sped up version of this because I'm going to listen to music. We'll see how well that goes. So, Elmer's white glue in a ketchup bottle. Works very, very well. Squeezes out, easy to use. So, that's all I'm using to put the 2 pieces of foam together. I'm going to stick a couple of pins in to keep everything straight for now, because I am at an angle, which is okay. I just want to make sure that it stays while it dries. Right where it belongs. Oh, and these are actually sewing needles or sewing pin needle things. I don't know. Got them off Amazon. They're pretty cheap. They work really well to temporarily hold things in place. Because that's where I want that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a batch of Sculptamold that I haven't poured any water in. I'm going to shoot some glue. And then I'm going to fill with Sculptamold. And I'm hoping the 2 will bond together enough that it'll be alright. Because other than that, there's not a whole lot of points of contact back there. So I actually think that might be what I do now. Let's go ahead and figure out exactly where I want this thing. Get that Sculptamold in there. Hold it in place while I'm waiting for the rest of the glue to dry. Alright. this went a lot better than I was expecting it to. I can definitely blend this better here when the time comes. But that's pretty well stuck already, and it's still very wet. Like if I pull on it, it's not going anywhere already. Sculptamold sets up pretty fast sometimes, but we'll have to come back in with a second batch to fill some of those gaps after I carve this out and everything's dry. I'm going to move on to the other part that I have pieces cut out for. I do think I need to go get some more Sculptamold though. I'm empty, so I'll be back in a bit. Well, good day. So I got the pink foam in. I used glue and some Sculptamold to kind of form around a little bit. The Sculptamold does shrink though when it dries because I had it really wet. That is not the final Sculptamold that's going to be on there. Obviously, I'm going to get to carving the pink foam, and then I will blend in certain things. I'm actually going to add a Sculptamold to the mountain today. I watched a bunch of videos. I think one of the biggest issues I was having was I was mixing up. Well, the first set that I did, I mixed up too big of a batch, and it hardened up really fast, and I didn't really know what I was doing. The second batch I mixed up was too watery, and I don't like how the texture turned out, and it's causing some issues with shrinkage. So we're going to focus on getting this rock face portion carved, and then once that's done, I will come back in with more Sculptamold with a different technique that I was learning today. So I'm going to go ahead and climb up here, and yeah, that's all pretty solid, which is what I need. Try and get comfortable, because this process might take a little bit. Now, I did watch an older YouTube video, like I think early 90s YouTube video. So we've got two different types of X-Acto blades here with me today. I'm probably, depends on what I see and how I choose to do things, which one I'll be using at any given time. But I watched a really older video today, like I said, from the 90s. Oh, I'm trying to cut myself already today. And older guy, and the way he was carving this pink foam, I really liked. And all the little tiny pieces that gathered at the bottom basically looked like other little rocks once he got done painting with it. So some of the little tiny pieces he left and then just glued them in place, which seems smart, because you have rock that falls off the mountain. Obviously, some of it will end up down here, some will end up down here at the bottom. So we will see how things go today, and hopefully things go the way I want them to. So I'm going to start by just basically scoring some lines. I don't want them completely vertical or horizontal. I'm going to do more of a gentle striation angles, maybe. I don't know. We'll see how things go. Barely see that one. They're really fine blades, so And randomness is your friend. Try not to make them evenly spaced, or kind of curve some of them a little bit here and there. And then I'm going to go back and kind of pick at some of this. And if it doesn't turn out well, I can always pull it off and try again. Obviously, this is going to take a while, so I'm going to go ahead and turn my music on and listen while I do this and see how things go. So, Alexa, play music. Here we go. So I'm liking the striations. Obviously, I need to texture the face a little bit better, but I like how the rock face itself is starting to come together and take shape. Obviously, I'm taking a shitload of a bunch of artistic liberty just for the sheer fact that I have never done this before. I've watched a bunch of videos, and I think in the end, this is going to come out the way I want it to, which is better than what I was doing with the sculpt mold and rock molds. And because I've driven by many, many mountains in my lifetime, plenty of cliff faces. A lot of them, especially in the Northeast, you see this striation going on where it's all at different angles, and the granite is fractured in different places. And I think this is going to look really well once it gets some paint on it. Looks a little rough right now. Going to take a wire brush and scrape up the flat surfaces later on. But overall, the carving is a little tedious, but it's very controllable, which is also good. The only problem is stuff loves to stick to everything because it gets a static charge to it as you're carving and doing things, which is also all right. I'm going to keep going here. I just wanted to point out that I liked how I've got things going. It's going to be a process, obviously, and it's kind of the point of my training room is it gets me out of everybody else's hair, and it gets everybody else out of my hair. All right, that being said, I'm going to turn my music back on and get back at it. Alexa.